How's it going, guys and girls? Be you, be unique. Ow. Today, that actually hurt quite a lot. Today we are talking about one of the biggest sins in WWE. Now, you remember a video that I made quite a few months ago about Brock Lesnar beating The Undertaker's streak, and how that was kind of a bit of a sin, and how Brock Lesnar didn't really need that kind of big promotion in his WWE career, because without that big promotion in his WWE career, Brock Lesnar would have still been fine. So give it to someone who's a bit more of a rookie, someone who's up and coming, and give them the opportunity to give themselves a platform. But instead they gave it to fucking Brock Lesnar. Do you remember that video? Yeah, you do, don't you? This one is just as bad, but in different contexts. Now, this one is about John Cena versus The Rock at Redemption. This actually peeves me off a little bit more than the Brock Lesnar thing. I'll tell you why. Do you all remember The Rock versus John Cena? Once in a lifetime. It was a fantastic spectacle. It was one of the most unique. It was the most unique main event in WWE history, let's be honest. The Rock versus John Cena at Redemption. Not a redemption at once in a lifetime. See, my mind's gone. My mind's gone blank because I'm peeved. Brock Lesnar beat The Undertaker, right? And I remember sitting there thinking, I was genuinely in shock. I was like, wow, this is the genuine occasion I've been shocked watching wrestling. It was like Brock Lesnar beating The Undertaker's streak, because I didn't think that the people behind the curtain, the writers and directors and, everybody in production would have had the gall to do that. But when John Cena beat The Rock at Redemption, I knew it was coming. But before that, prior to any of that shite, how dare you call a match a year prior to that, once in a lifetime, when you plan on doing a rematch? What is the point? Now, we all remember once in a lifetime, it was basically a battle between the two biggest stars in the WWE, The Rock versus John Cena. That's what made it kind of a unique spectacle. That's what also kind of edged the title once in a lifetime. It was two of the biggest stars within WWE. They are the two biggest stars in WWE. There's no doubt about that. But I always knew at once in a lifetime that the biggest star was always going to win on that night. And that biggest star is The Rock. And The Rock was always going to win on that occasion. The biggest problem they had, the WWE, right? The biggest problem the WWE had... Am I spitting? I keep seeing like little white bits fly out. Sorry. Anyway, basically the biggest problem the WWE had with the fact that The Rock beat John Cena at once in a lifetime was the fact that that subsequently meant that it kind of put WWE in a bit of an awkward position, for the simple fact that John Cena is such, at the time he is now even, he's a legend of WWE, but the fact that John Cena lost such a big fight meant that they kind of had to try and get John Cena back on track somehow in the near future. And rather than have John Cena do it at, SummerSlam, or have John Cena do it at the Royal Rumble or Elimination Chamber, some other event, they thought to themselves, we need John Cena to get his revenge on The Rock at WrestleMania again. I know we called it once in a lifetime last year, but let's just do it again anyway. You fucking imbeciles. I mean, honestly, I cannot believe that they went down that avenue of calling that original fight once in a lifetime, and then a year later saying we're going to do it again. WrestleMania, it's going to be like John Cena's Redemption Tour. And I knew John Cena was going to win the rematch. This is the most annoying thing, right? In the original fight, I had a feeling that The Rock may win. And I'll tell you why, because he's the biggest star. And I felt that fight was all about the two biggest stars, and I always felt the biggest star on the night was going to win. And The Rock is the biggest star. He's the more famous guy. He's the more global entity. So I had a feeling in that original fight that The Rock was going to win. It was just one of those that subconscious thing in my mind, and I felt The Rock's going to win this one because he's the biggest star of the two. The biggest problem the WWE had was they then had to try and rectify it by having John Cena come back somehow. Because John Cena is probably the more current... Well, he is the more frequent figure in the WWE, isn't he? The Rock sometimes, he dips in and out. He's there for a couple of months and he's gone for like 5 months. The Rock literally now does cameos, doesn't he? He's literally there just to create kind of like an atmosphere. That's literally The Rock's job now. He just appears every now and then to create an atmosphere. Because he's like an iconic man in the WWE history. But the biggest issue, like I said, they had was the fact that I think there was a lot of... I think the fact that The Rock beat John Cena in that once in a lifetime fight, I don't know if the WWE, the writers and directors, I think they were kind of shocked by perhaps how damaging that match maybe looked on John Cena's career. Because a lot of the hype and stuff, and a lot of the talk between once in a lifetime WrestleMania, was it 28, WrestleMania 28 and WrestleMania 29, was actually about John Cena's turbulent life since losing that match. He'd said his marriage has gone downhill. his life has changed for the worse. And I'm thinking, let's be honest with you. I'm just going to say this. I'm just going to draw a line in the sand here, right? John Cena knew before he was going out to the ring that night that he was going to lose. So I don't believe that his life went into absolute shambolic, territory, and his wife left him, and his kids call him a bold bastard. I don't believe any of this, right? Because and that wasn't said. Just something I was saying, by the way. His kids never called him that. But look, I don't even know if he's got. I don't think he's even got kids. Actually, John Cena hasn't actually got kids. Actually, I don't know why I said that. John Cena doesn't have children. Maybe there was just some random kids running down the street. Hello, bold bastard. No, I don't know. But look, I think he had more hair there as well. So I don't know why I said that. But look, basically, John Cena's life did not go downhill because he lost that once in a lifetime match against The Rock, because it's scripted for a start. So how could a scripted night cause John Cena so much pain and anguish? He would have been told weeks before by Vince McMahon, John, you're going to lose this match against The Rock. And then John Cena would have been like, sure thing, boss. Biggest night of my life, and you're basically turning my life into a shit show. I appreciate it, boss. You look after me, you do. Fucking prick. But look, it was basically kind of like that, wasn't it? John Cena knew he was going to lose, but obviously all that stuff about John Cena's life going downhill was all a part of the hype and drama surrounding the rematch. But I think it's such a sin that they even did a rematch. Don't call the original fight once in a lifetime if you're planning on doing a rematch, because surely they had that in their mind from the start that there was going to be a rematch. I don't know if it was planned during that time. It might not have been. But the fact that there was a rematch, look, why couldn't John Cena fight The Rock at a different occasion? Why couldn't The Rock lose? Why couldn't The Rock lose to John Cena on an episode of Monday Night Raw? Why couldn't he lose to John Cena at SummerSlam? Why couldn't he lose to John Cena at the Royal Rumble pay-per-view? Or Survivor Series, or Judgment Day. I don't know, Judgment Day probably wasn't even a thing then, I don't know, or No Way Out, or something else. WrestleMania it's the grand spectacle. And, once in a lifetime at WrestleMania is a special thing. And the fact that they did it a year later, John Cena, it was all about John Cena's redemption and WrestleMania 29. Don't have John Cena beat The Rock at WrestleMania, because that was what made it once in a lifetime. The fact that it was a WrestleMania main event, just do it on Monday Night Raw. Do it on something that no one's going to really remember. Don't do it on the grandest spectacle of them all where there's millions of people watching. I mean, I don't quite understand why they did that. And the rematch was the most predictable thing on planet Earth. The Rock beat John Cena in the first fight. There's no way The Rock beats John Cena in the second fight. I mean, it's common sense. And the fact that The Rock was WWE champion as well going into that second fight against John. And we know The Rock doesn't like to actually hang around. We know The Rock has other projects. He does a lot of movies. He does a lot of other things. So he was never going to stick around in the WWE after that. So John Cena was always going to beat The Rock in that second fight, because The Rock doesn't hang around in the WWE. So, and the fact that he was WWE champion, that kind of has a big commitment in itself. Meant that John Cena was always going to be the one to carry that, because John Cena was always more constant within the WWE than The Rock. The Rock's got other projects. So The Rock was always going to lose that second match, the rematch at Redemption at WrestleMania 29. He was always going to lose that match. Most predictable, pointless night in WWE history, in my view. But that's just me. But that's life. I don't... Look, it's disappointing that they did that, and I still, even to this day, because I'm not a massive wrestling buff, but I love spectacle. I love unique occasions, and WrestleMania once in a lifetime, WrestleMania 28 was a unique occasion. It's the most unique main event in WrestleMania history. So to do it again, bastards. But like I said, I'm not in charge. I'm not a director. I'm not one of the writers of the WWE. So who am I to judge? But I do have a 1p coin. Don't know why that's important, but look, it's basically, that's just my views. It was the most predictable rematch in WWE history, and the fact, like I said, that The Rock was champion going into it, and we know The Rock doesn't like to hang around. John Cena was always going to take the belt off him and be the ultimate carrier of that, because John Cena's a constant within the WWE. And The Rock's literally probably going to be thinking, I'm going to be doing some film, so I haven't really got time to keep showing up as WWE champion. So it made it even more predictable that John Cena was going to take the belt off him. But it was such a terrible night, honestly. Redemption and the atmosphere. I remember watching that live, and the atmosphere was really poor. WrestleMania Redemption between The Rock and John Cena, the atmosphere was nowhere near as good as it was the year before for once in a lifetime, because I think even the fans knew that John Cena was going to win that fight 100% because he lost the original fight. It's pointless, and why did they do it? Why did they do that? Honestly, that's one of the great mysteries. Like I said, when I watched Brock Lesnar v The Undertaker, that was the only time I was genuinely astonished by an actual outcome of wrestling. I know it's all scripted and shit, but I was genuinely astonished. because I didn't think that Brock Lesnar even needed that big kind of night. He didn't need that massive moment in his career, Brock. But they gave it to him anyway. Well, I think it was actually the Undertaker that decided to give it to him. But give me your thoughts, guys. I mean, I don't know. For me, it was just a massive skewy night for me. Do you agree that The Rock v John Cena, that rematch of, John Cena's redemption tour, do you think it was the most pointless, predictable match ever? Because I honestly do. That's where I stand with it. I think it's the most predictable, pointless match in WWE, and I've seen some very, very shit matches in wrestling. I have. And don't get me started on the headbutts. What's all this headbutt? You know when they headbutt someone and they like stamp on the floor? Always drives me nuts because it looks so bollocks. But anyway, we're not talking about headbutts. We're talking about John Cena versus The Rock. And give me your thoughts. Be unique, guys. Subscribe to the channel and like the damn video. I need likes, or I will come for you. Not in that way. No, just end the video, you sickos. I'm not talking about coming for you in that way. I'm talking about coming for you with my very, very sticky scissors, which don't really work very well. I've even got a pink comb. Nice comb. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.